Most people would agree that the tone of our discourse these days is one grounded in grievance. It's about blame and victimhood. But grievance need not be a bad thing. We are indeed a nation born of grievance, but the means for addressing it have become more dangerous and maybe a threat to our democracy. Frank Bruni is a New York Times best-selling author where he worked for 25 years. He's a full professor now at Duke University, where he teaches in the School of Public Policy. His latest and new bestseller called The Age of Grievance. And Frank joins us now. Frank, it's good to see you. Thanks for being with me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So it's clear from reading the book that you yourself believe in open and respectful discourse. This has given you significant and real concern at the growing level of spite. And essentially what you're saying here is what used to be acceptable grievance has become a cause to fight for.
Well, we're no longer just disagreeing with one another. We're no longer having productive disagreements. We're sniping at one another. When you look at surveys about why people vote the way they vote, they're as often voting against things, against their enemies, their perceived enemies, against other politicians. And everything has taken this sort of negative framework. And that's making it very difficult to make any progress on the meaningful problems we have. And we're intermingling things that really matter, causes that we need to rally around, stuff we need to fight for. That's becoming mixed in with and indistinguishable from petty slights that people experience and want addressed. And these things are really kind of corroding our civic culture.
You also note this is not a problem of the right. It's also on the left. And in fact, where everybody kind of mixes things these days is what you call X, or formerly Twitter, which is grievance central. This is where the fights happen often.
Yes. Social media has not been helpful in this regard. Social media algorithms and things prioritize anger, impassioned postings, not stuff that brings us together, but stuff that divides us. And across the political spectrum, it doesn't have the same consequences necessarily. It doesn't pose the same level of threat on right and left, but the psychological dynamic spans the entire ideological spectrum. People enter their political engagement springs from this estimation of how they've been wronged, how badly they've been wronged, who's wronged them, and how they're going to get their revenge. You see that mindset, you see those impulses on the right and left both. They seem to be kind of ingrained in our political culture now.
And of course, the book is filled with personal stories of yours and what, but as you know, you're talking to Chicagoland now. So I have to bring up a story you write about in the book, which is Jussie Smollett, right? That's a Chicago-based story, essentially became famous by, as a jury saw it, staging a hate attack on himself. But here's the thing. You use that to demonstrate that grievance isn't just airing, it's becoming a strategy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see politicians. So yes, you saw it there. He clearly felt that as soon as he sort of flew the flags of racism and homophobia, people wouldn't ask questions. They'd just rush to be aggrieved with him on his behalf. And right out of the gate, I mean, you had kind of impassioned, sweeping statements from the likes of Kamala Harris, right? People didn't ask questions because he had kind of connected with these grievances that everyone likes to bask in, and let's forget about the facts, or let's forget about waiting to learn the facts. You see that time and time again, and you see politicians who try to gain traction by whipping you up into greater intensities of grievance, by saying they're symbols of their grievance. I mean, we have a president of the United States, a past president, and maybe a future president, who essentially is grievance incarnate, who says, I am a symbol of all the ways in which you've been wronged. I'm hated by the same people who you believe hate you, and so let's take our revenge by electing me and torturing them with my governorship. I mean, that's essentially a lot of Donald Trump's pitch.
And what happens, of course, is that this becomes what is called a fight for freedom by both sides. That's the way they label it. The right, of course, says freedom means government stay out of my life, which you note is sort of hypocritical given the abortion issues and others. And the left said, look, freedom for us means no discrimination. Also hypocritical on that side when you look at the growth of some of the anti-Semitism that's been rising among the left. So that being said, it's sort of misnomer to call this a fight for freedom when it becomes an avenue for grievance.
No, very often this is a fight for among the people who are unduly aggrieved, whose grievances are overwrought and indiscriminate. All too often, this is about insisting on a world that conforms precisely to one's liking. And that's fundamentally immature and it's fundamentally unhumble. As you know, toward the end of the book, for a long stretch, I talk about the arrogance of American life right now, of the way so many people live it, and the need for humility. None of us gets a world exactly to his, her, or their liking. None of us can expect to be contented and satisfied at every turn. There's a kind of collective reality that we have to balance against our individual wants. But that sort of maturity, that sort of measured approach to politics and to culture seems to be falling by the wayside in America.
I'm fascinated by a point that you make, and it just sheds so much light on the issue, which is to say our past should inform the future. But you point out that while history doesn't change, the interpretation of it does.
Well, that's right. I mean, everything is contested these days. And by the way, we should say we talk about history sometimes as if it is this kind of fixed and utterly objective thing. History belongs often to the victors, to the people who do the telling. History is always evolving, and our understanding of it is as well. But you have now warring interpretations of history that don't boil down to earnest intellectual disagreements. They boil down to who can weaponize a version of history to get their agenda satisfied. And that's not a good thing. It's corrupted higher education to some extent, and it's absolutely kind of corrupted our political institutions.
Well, you do certainly in the book want to give us a fix to this, and you do talk about that fix being we got to look at Congress, the political culture, so many different areas, and an adoption of intellectual and what you call other forms of humility. But as you say to your students now at the beginning of each term, it's complicated.
That's right. I have a lot of reservations and concerns about the way in which pundits like me come into the public square and say, I know this to be true. I'm certain about this. Most of the things there's a lot of gray in a life. There are gray areas all over the place and everything is complicated. And what I try to teach in the classroom is intellectual humility. I want students and their proxies in this sense for Americans, I want us to focus on what we can't be sure of, what we're struggling together to understand, how nuanced and complicated things can be. Because if we do that, and if we have deeper discussions, we will find areas of agreement. We'll find the kind of common ground that's being eroded so steadily, and we'll do things like pass meaningful compromise legislation rather than have a House of Representatives that is just a theater performance day in and day out.
Frank, the book is important, and I'm so glad I read it cover to cover. I congratulate you on an important book for our times. Thank you. The book is called The Age of Grievance. Check out social media for more information or visit frankbruni.com. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.